Hello? Is anybody there? I'm having a little trouble with one thing, but I'll be... Reverb. I will, be going on in just... hopefully under 60 seconds. We'll see. Why is GitHub choosing now of all times to be temperamental? Is that why? No, that is not why. It's just like, what if we didn't work? Oh, that's why. Well, there you go. Get rid of that nonsense. There we go. Sorry, I was just getting something ready for later in the stream. Who do we have with us in the chat today, or viewing? All four of you, thank you for coming. Push to original. And view on GitHub, we'll make sure that worked. Goody! Alright. I think then we are ready to get started. Hello once again. Happy New Year, everyone. Man, it has been a little while, hasn't it? And, man, I'm upset now because I realized too late I did not have a party hat for my avatar, which is going to be unfortunate, but hello, everyone. Welcome to the 4-year anniversary stream for Omega Game Framework. Huzzah! I got a root beer. I actually got a root beer object as well, but special root beer to crack over for this occasion. A Frosty brand. I pulled just the first one I had out of my fridge. Hello, No Trellix. Hi, when is Omega Game Framework going to release for Unreal 5.5? So give me 1 second so I can drink this root beer. That's right, I tricked you. It was a root beer drinking ASMR stream all along. All right. So, first I just want to go over. So today we're going to basically be talking about the new features in Unreal 1.6 as well as a template project that I have. So first question, when is OGF going to release for UE 5.5? When I get around to building it. So, I'll keep this brief. The Unreal Engine updates make it very difficult to keep up plugin management, especially one as big and complicated as Unreal Engine. It's hard enough releasing them on the marketplace without the engine updates. So I have to. I'll say I don't use Unreal 5.5. I'm stuck with 4.4 because I've been hearing and seeing issues with 5.5 that I don't want to deal with. So I basically publish for whatever version I'm using. So I will probably shortly here make a 5.5 build release, but I don't know how often I will be doing that. It'll probably mostly be update. The build releases will be 5.4, and then anything else you'll have to build yourself. But I will try to at least get one release for 5.5 out. All right. So, it is January, and it is incredibly cold where I am. So this is why I need to get this stream done now. 1, for the anniversary, but 2, because it's very possible over this weekend I am going to have to not use my office because it will be too cold to work in it. So, all right. So, Omega Game Framework 1.6. Man, there have been so many updates, so many feature changes and improvements that have come in, and there is no way I can go over all of them. So instead, I've kind of curated a list of stuff I do want to talk about, and the way this is going to go down. Excuse me. Oh man, my avatar is having a freak out. I guess that's not uncommon though. All right, the way this is going to go down is I am essentially just going to move my camera so I'm actually in a reasonable spot, maybe. 1 second. Come here, OBS. Transition. There we go. You saw my taskbar. Do I want you to see my taskbar? Ah, well. I guess you can today. Why are my eyes always closed? I guess I'm not what they might call a professional VTuber. Is there a way to just take... You know what? Well, give me 1 second to test this out and see if I can fix this. Nope, fine. You want to be like that? We'll be like that. All right, whatever. All right, let's begin. So what I'm going to be doing today is I'm going to be kind of going through setting up a project with Omega Game Framework, or setting up just a basic game, and while I do that, kind of explain the new features. So what I got here is a completely blank project. This is, you open up a new game with Omega Game Framework. This is what it'll look like now. The content browser will be empty, which I got right here, or you can pull up and do it the normal way. So, as usual, first thing I like to do is create a folder called 0_main, because the 0_ will mean it is always at the top of the content folder, no matter what marketplace assets we end up adding. So we'll make it blue as well, so it's even more distinct. All right, let's make our first map. We'll make a folder called maps to put them in, and I'm going to make a map called test. Solano number says, hi, it's my first time using OGF, so that's why this question may sound weird. Why OGF is around 800 megabytes, and how much of it can I cut down? Not much. So the best way, unfortunately, here's the thing. The way to kind of think about Omega Game Framework is that it is an engine, a mini engine on top of Unreal Engine. It provides so many features. But... so are you talking? I guess here's the question. It says about when you say 800 megabytes, are you referring to is it not, hang on a second. Are you guys seeing my, oh, that's why. Sorry, I was not, my preview wasn't live. That's why it wasn't showing the second screen. So sorry, back to your question, Solana now. When you say 800 megabytes, are you talking about for the plugin as a whole or for your packaged project? Because, I believe it should be smaller if the project is actually packaged, and if not, there's kind of just a issue with Unreal Engine where you're gonna have a little more bloat because of the nature of the engine. So if you wanted a really lean like 2D project, honestly, Godot might be a better engine or something. But yeah, like the way it works is stuff that is not used is automatically removed in the packaging process. So most of the content for Omega will not be included in a packaged project, so it should be much smaller when packaged. It should be, but it depend on kind of what we're talking about. But just kind of the nature of the plugin, and there's only so much you can cut it down. Though I am trying to keep it as lean as possible, because a lot of that size is probably in the content folder, which is a lot of the demo assets, which, yeah, if you don't use those, they'll be excluded when the actual thing is packaged and built. All right, so let's open up the new test map. So we got our empty test map here. All right, first thing we're gonna do, of course, is we need to start adding, sky atmosphere, all the where is it? Directional light, blah blah. Oh man, this is kind of annoying how I need to add these every single time I need to make a new map. What if there was like a single actor that did all of this automatically? Well, guess what? Now there is. Let's get rid of all of this. Now, if you go over to this tab here, or you can just search it in classes, there's no icon for it, but this is the Omega Game Framework actors. And right here we have something called environment. So let's drag and drop this in. And this is the environment actor, which contains, as its exposure correcting itself to show, it contains a skylight, directional light, skylight, directional light, fog, an atmosphere, clouds, post-processing, and a skybox. In case you don't want to use this more expensive stuff, you can just use a skybox instead, as well as an audio component for audio ambience and a procedurally generated or PCG component. So you automatically have a PCG ready to go. Excuse me. All right. So I just dropped this in. I'm going to set the time to, midday. And all right there in one actor. Let's go ahead and add in a base map with the plane. Set it to 0, 10,000, or what have you. And I realized I closed out my guide sheet, so 1 second. Yes, environments first. Let's go ahead and change this material to something nicer looking. Omega blocking, and we'll use Omega's built-in blocking materials to get this nice dark gray grid. I'm also gonna go down to the post-processing and set the exposure so it doesn't keep changing the exposure on me. Maybe 0.5 and 0.5. Here we go. And start character at 0, 0. And already, we only have 3 actors, and we got all the basics set up for, our level to start adding stuff. So, first thing we're going to need to add is, of course, blueprint. Let's make a folder called blueprints. And we're going to use Omega game mode, not normal game mode. GM gameplay. Gameplay. Add that in the project settings. And we'll also, oh, by the way, while I'm here, startup, make sure. Okay, I want the startup to be last open, so if there's a crash, it'll restore me to this level. For our gameplay, hurry up. Please load. Omega demo controller. Yeah, we're for the gameplay system. We want to use the Omega demo controller. It's mostly the same, just with a couple of. I think if I open it, maybe I can see. Nope. Okay, well that's fine. It just has a few more inputs for the interface, but we'll switch to that. All right, now we'll make a folder called actors. Now I want to quickly address something. In previous streams and stuff, I've talked about how I set up my folder structure and how I would create a folder called systems, and in that folder I would add all my different game systems and then add all the content for those specific systems, like all the different actors and materials, and I put those in the folders. I have since decided this is a very bad way to structure things because it actually makes it very hard to find relevant content and assets and whatnot. So now I've resorted to the just store things in a folder of their type. So actors go in the actors folder, also the systems in the systems folder, materials folder, with no exceptions. The sole exception being if you have something that is dependent on that is contextually dependent on like an owning asset. For example, if you have a static mesh or skeletal mesh that has textures that go with that, put those textures in the folder with the skeletal mesh. But otherwise, yeah, put everything in a folder by type. So to that point, I'm going to make a new folder called systems. Well, actually, no, before I do that, let's make our character. You mean? Ooh, Andy Mira says, "Hi, thanks for the new OGF update. I can't wait to test it out. I'll also check if it will package for Android and fix any packaging issues. Like I do in every new version of an OGF version." Thank you very much. Yes, unfortunately, I don't prioritize Android development because I just it's not what I develop on, and I don't have the extra time for it. So if you did any extra work there, I would be very, very grateful. If you want to put in a pull request, I will definitely check it out. But yeah, sorry to give you some extra work if you're working on that version. But I'm glad you're excited for the update. All right, let's see, character. Now, yeah, so we're going to make a new character class. I'll go with the base character class. The Omega character class has a bunch of components already with it as well, and that's the one I usually use, but for now, I'll just do a raw character. So, A_C. I like to call my character, well, here's how I like to label my I like to keep my names as simple as possible for my assets. So here, an A obviously means actor, _C obviously means character. So AC is character. It's nice and simple. All right, where did the asset manager go? There we go. We'll get into basics. Demo man. Drop him down to -90. Rotate him. And add in the default animator. Yeah. All right, so we have our basic character. Let us go for game mode. and set it to here. Set him to our character, so boo-doo-doo. Pretty basic stuff. All right, so he's in, but he has no movement and no camera. But you can see him. He's right here in the outliner. Looks like we are possessing him. That's good. So, first things first, we need to add controls, obviously. Now, Omega has a component that I've added called control basic movement, and this will, I'll actually give him a camera as well. Spring arm, just to make, spring arm, just to make this simple for right now. And camera. Use pawn control rotation. So, this is a control basic movement. This is a controller that automatically basically handles basic WASP movement. We just need to make sure auto enable movement and auto enable rotation is turned on. Now, if you play it now, you'll see nothing happens if I hit keys because they use the advanced input system, so we actually have to activate those inputs. Now, to do that, I mean, the easiest thing would be, you know, do add mapping. Oops. We do something, like add mapping context and select Omega player mapping. But I have a way I like to do this better. I like to have systems do that. So what I'm going to do, let's make a new system. Yeah, a lot of this is some basic stuff right now. I'm not quite, aside from environments, I'm not talking about new features just yet. But I'll make a new system called system. And I like to call it, or just SYS, exploration. And this is like the main system for the main gameplay state where you actually have your HUD and you're running around and doing stuff. So let's go ahead and name that. We got the system. Player input mode. So player input modes, I've been around for a little bit, but I don't know if I talked about them. These are essentially just presets for input mode. So like if I open this up, input mode pawn, we can see uses this type. It sets the input type to game only. And then we can add in the mapping context we want, as well as mouse stuff, priority, blah, blah, blah. So basically, if I add this in, I'm automatically going to get the default movement inputs. So now, if I go back to game mode, because we have to, if we do it now, obviously, nothing here. We got to activate the system first. Now, there's a couple different ways to activate gameplay systems, but if you're using Omega game mode, the way I like for a system like this, is you have preload systems, load systems, post-load. Basically, preload is loaded at the start of the game, or when the game mode begins play. Then we begin the load gameplay system. When that system is completed, or skipped if it's empty, then we load all the post-load gameplay system. So it gives you a little bit of sequential loading. And lastly, we have persistent game systems. These are basically, you see this number right here, every this amount of seconds, so 0.4 seconds, we will try to activate everything in the persistent gameplay system if it's not already activated. So this is a way you can always say, hey, if there is nothing blocking my exploration game mode, or my exploration state, then make sure it's active so I can actually control. And it's meant to like minimize the amount of manual calling and failure points you can have there. So for now, I'm going to set this to exploration. And if I do this now, boom, look at that. We can move around. So let me I'll get to the next thing once I've seen these questions. So, NoTrex says, I've been trying to learn C++, but I had no idea where to start. Can you tell me how much time it took you to learn it and do you have any advice? Good luck. So just short story. There was a Unreal Mega Jam that I actually have live streams of a couple of years ago. I pretty much learned C++ right before that so I could start making Omega Game Framework. It was probably the hardest like 2 to 3 weeks of coding I had ever learned, and I was wanting to give up so many times because it was very difficult. Now that I have learned how to do it, I am so glad I did, and there's no going back. And kind of the point behind Omega was to save a lot of you guys who don't want to learn that the trouble. As for where I would start, honestly, I think the best way is just look up, what I do is look up YouTube tutorials that just kind of teach you, hey, you know how to use Omega or Unreal Engine, so here's how to use Unreal Engine C++, and kind of shows you how the same things are done. And then it's just practice over and over again, doing different things until you kind of get it all down. I would say just because I was brute forcing it, because this happened it was Game Jam over COVID, so I was home all the time. I brute forced it. I was working, like, learning it pretty much entire work days for, I'd say, about 3 weeks straight just to get some of the basics down. Enough to where I could figure stuff out. Although I prefer to use C++ as little as possible, and then to build the framework, and then use blueprints beyond that. So that's what I would say. Andy says, even if you're not talking about new OGF features, I already thank you very much for the basic initial setup tutorial. Thank you. I'm glad to hear that. I would like to do more of that. I kind of like the idea of, because I've done sort of making a game with Omega Game Framework streams before. I kind of think of doing that maybe every year, just to show the progress and how much easier it's become every year to do that. So I'm thinking of doing another stream like that pretty soon. Or, well, I don't know, pretty soon, at some point. But, all right. So we got our exploration system active and running, so we can actually move around. Let's add a HUD as well. So, actually, before that, I'm gonna add. How do I want to? Okay, you know what? I don't want to take up too much time. So let's go make a new folder called HUDs. HUD layer. HUD, and we'll say exploration. Pretty simple. I am going to add, and I'm not going to go over these mega features because I mainly want to get to the new stuff. So I'm kind of assume you know or can figure out some of what I'm talking about here. So we'll add a size box, bottom 50, 50, and we're going to add a data list because we want to show some player attributes here. We'll do 800 by 50. 50. For our data list entry class, we're going to use attribute. I think just attribute. And if I add HP and MP, I don't think that's the one I want. That's the weirdo one. Attribute. Metric A. There we go. So we're going to display our HP and MP values there. To do that, we'll need to get the data list, delay tick, and set source. No, wait. Set owner. Right. Set the list owner to be our pawn, since the pawn is what had the control pawn. Since the pawn is what has the combatant component. So once I do that, make sure I actually am using the. Oh yeah, I'll need to add a combatant component to it as well. It sounds like someone's vacuuming. I don't know if you guys can hear that. Hopefully it's not too much of an annoyance. Alright, but we'll add the simple attribute set, and we'll call this guy. Why not? But now, okay, so we have our HUD here. I'm going to grab it, set it to system exploration. So yeah, in our exploration system, we said what player widgets we want to use, which are just the HUDs. I'm going to use our new one. HUD exploration, and right there. Apparently, I'm not using MP at all. That's fine. Give me 1 second. Congestion season, fellas. All right. We got our guy running around. Let's fix this movement while we're here. Orient rotation to movement. And get rid of this annoying yaw movement. That's very, very frustrating. There we go. We got... Wow, his rotation speed is really slow. Let's set that to 600. That's much better. Alright, what is that bump? For real, what is that bump? That's weird. Oh well, I'm not going to worry about it for now. That's not... I know that's not me. It's probably a rendering thing. So now that we got our guy moving around, oh yeah, I want to talk about input. So I did add this component you can use, but it's kind of just a easy solution. There is a way I actually prefer to handle movement that's not using this. So I'm going to delete this and actually go into my exploration system. We're going to go down to auto receive input, set it to player 1. So whenever the system is active, it automatically can take inputs from player 1. Then I'm going to do move character. We have an input action called move character, which is what's being used here. And I think rotate control. Is it control or? Yeah, rotate control. These are default inputs. This is used with WASD and the left control stick. This is right control stick and mouse movement. So let's do rotate control pawn. Oh, sorry, 2D control rotation input. We'll plug that in. Triggered 2D rotation input. Now let's get our player pawn. Plug that bad boy in here. Oh, that's rotation. We want move input, not rotation. And if I get pawn control vectors, we will plug in forward and right. Now it should be working. Sweet. And what this will do is means when the exploration system shuts down, which actually just for a test I'm gonna do delay after 3 seconds, set system active exploration. I'm gonna shut down my exploration system. That will remove the HUD and it should break my input. So 1, 2, 3, boom. It is shutting it down. So yeah, it did shut it down as you saw there, but remember, because it's a persistent system, it's going to keep trying to activate it. So I could use a different system like one I have here. I think it's called pause, which just shuts off exploration entirely. No, it doesn't. Right. All right, because so this is actually something useful is so if I open this pause gameplay system I have here, it says block system tags exploration. This is kind of how you can use that layered gameplay system feature. So because it says this, when this is activated, because that's I think all this does is it pauses, it blocks that system. If I go back to system exploration, go to system tags, and add that tag here, exploration. Now, when pause is activated, it should block 1, 2, 3. Nope. Why did it not work? Did I break it? What did I do? Oh, right, because I set it to deactivate, not activate. Boom. There you go. And as you can see, exploration is gone, and pause is active right here in the gameplay. And a quick note: gameplay systems are always attached to your, unless you tell them otherwise, are always attached to your game mode. So if you ever want to find them in Outliner, just look up game mode, and they'll be right there attached to it. Sweet. Let's get rid of that. Check on my agenda. All right. So, who wants to talk about dynamic cameras? Dynamic cameras are a system that actually quickly want to look at what Andy said. Okay, so he's talking to Trexel. He says, in my case, my C++ starting point was some UE tutorials by Dev Enabled. I think I've seen Dev Enabled stuff. It's pretty cool. Yeah. Yeah, go ahead. Feel free to post stuff here. If YouTube allows you to, feel free to post those links here. All right. Now, we got a nice old camera right here, but I got a system introduced recently called the dynamic camera system. Actually, it's been introduced a little while ago. And it's a way to essentially create layers of cameras that you can turn on and off to control where the camera you're looking at is, rather than having to rely on blueprints to manually toggle cameras on and off, because that is very easy to have errors and have things not activate right or activate in the wrong order. It's very prone to error. So instead, I have the dynamic camera system, which essentially what it does is it spawns a master camera, then looks for dynamic cameras in the level. So if I said I had let's get a dynamic camera here, and a dynamic camera here. And it'll get all dynamic cameras in the level, sort them by priority right here, and it will get the highest priority camera and blend to that one at whatever interpolation speed it is given. Unless that camera is not active, then it won't. So, for example, right now if I do this, nothing will happen. But I'm actually going to get rid of one of these. Let's move this good old camera over here behind me. And let's set its priority to 50. Oh, actually, let's do something else first. We're going to do that, but I'm also going to make a camera. Let's go into here. I'm going to make... Go into our main folder. Actors. I'm going to make a... Instead of having a camera controlled on the back of my character, I'm actually going to use a dynamic camera for that. So here's what we're going to do. Cameras. Dynamic. Dynacam player. So yeah, this is going to be the player's, the camera following the player. And so pretty simple. We're gonna do on event tick, and we'll do it if it's active, so it doesn't run if it's not active. And there are more complicated than what ways for what I'm about to do, but this is if you want to play especially a basic single player game, this is the best way to do it. Set actor location and rotation. Get player pawn. Then we're going to get the pawn's location for the location. And get control rotation for the camera's rotation. So now, when we go to this camera, this pawn, this will be the one we'll look through. And we'll be able to control it based on location and rotation. First, though, let's remove these cameras. So obviously you can see they're gone. I activate it, nothing happens. Because first we got to turn the dynamic camera system on. So let's get player. Now these, obviously because it's a camera, it's based on the player, so it's a player controller subsystem. Dynamic camera. Set active. Oh, sorry. Actually, I'm going to move this. I'm going to activate this in the game mode. So it's activated at the start. Set camera active. At the start. Let's set this low priority just to show off. So now, oh, and let's also so we could place the dynamic camera on the player, but since it's following us anyway, I'd prefer to place it on the game mode. But there's a different ways you could do it. As long as it exists in the world, and because of how it's running, it'll pretty much work. However, so. All right, so if I play this game now, oop, it's not. Why is it not work? Oh wait, set hidden. I think I know why. Set hidden in game. Do we have to make it visible? Is that it? No. What on earth? Ah, I know why. This is very simple. All right, so yeah, I'm going to turn off camera collision. I always prefer to turn off camera collision on my characters anyway. Because, or camera collision specifically on my characters. So I'm going to turn those off. And now, there you go. We have a camera working the exact same way. There might be a little bit of hitching. I think that's, I don't think that's the dynamic camera system. Whoop, hold on. There we go. Although I am getting a performance drop, though I'm guessing that's because I also got the stream and stuff going. Alright, so let's fix that camera's position. And move it up just tiny, not 500, 400, move it a tiny bit. So. Now, that's our basic camera, but we could also add in a, like I was doing before, where is it? So I got this camera here. Because this camera is priority -10 and our default camera is priority 0. If I set this to priority 10, so it's higher, and activate this, there you go. And I'm going to go ahead and instead of actually make a blueprint out of this, so I can modify some of the scripts for it. Yeah. Dynacam fixed. Dynacam fixed. Alright, so, and that is, whoop. So first thing we're going to do is, you'll notice, is you may not be able to see this, but when I'm moving around, my controls are all off. Like, right now I'm pressing forward, and I want him to go up, and he's not. He's going to the side. The way to fix that, get player pawn. And I actually need to do this a specific way. Hang on. Alright. First we're going to get the subsystem, say get source camera. Do I have an on-source camera change? Yeah, so this is something I probably do need to improve, is that, sorry, what was I saying? Oh, yeah, I do need to probably make some delegates and a specific function for running this, but for now, we're going to say, if the source camera is this, so if I'm actually the camera we're looking from, which is what the source camera is, and then the master camera is the, like not the dummy, the actual the view target. Anyway, then we're gonna get player, no, set control. No, right, we want the get player controller set control rotation. This, no, get actor rotation. Now there we go. If I run up, it goes side. There we go, fixed camera. Now, and let's even do something a little bit more fun. Yeah, let's do something a bit more fun. Set actor rotation. What we're going to do, get player pawn. Look. Get actor location. We're going to slowly look towards wherever the player pawn is. Look. If I look at rotation, R interp 2, delta time, plug that in, and that's wrong. We're going to do it very slowly. Get actor rotation. So now, we're slowly going to look over to where the player actually is. But I did this backwards. The start is where we are, target is where the player is. There we go. So now I can actually follow me around. And since the main feature is easy blending between cameras, here's what we're going to do. So we have our priority here, and this camera is set to active. So just to show this off, let me just pull up this so you can see. So at the moment, we have, we got the dynamic camera, we got the camera looking at me, and we got the player camera right here. So as long as this one's higher priority and is active, we'll use this camera instead of the player one. So what we're going to do to just show this off is do delay, 2.5 seconds, set camera active, reroute, not bool, camera active. So every 2.5 seconds, we're going to toggle this camera between on and off. And when it's off, we should switch back to the player camera. Like so. And we can also control the speed. I'm going to turn the interpolation speed on this down so that it actually blends a little bit less suddenly. Now it'll go to the players fast because the interpolation speed on that is high. But then we go back to fixed. I'm not touching anything. Back to player. Fixed. Player. Very smooth. And that's just one of the many ways you can do dynamic cameras. A way I like to do these is, let me think. I like to, I'll have a blueprint ability. I'll have a character ability that has a child actor on it, like this. Well, I won't actually show the whole thing, but I'll give an example. I will have an ability AB test cam. This is I like to use this game. This is a really nice camera. Thank you. I hope you guys get used to it. So how I might use this, like in Circle of Orion, I do this. I'll have a child actor slot. Then whenever the ability is activated, I will say set child actor, and then I'll put in whatever the camera I want is. So I'll just toss a camera in here. And then when I'm finished, I will set the class back to 0, which will destroy the camera, which means I can activate a special camera for when I'm using an ability, like say if I'm charging up an attack, and it goes into a specific aiming mode. Then once the charging or aiming ability is finished, we immediately destroy the camera, and we know, okay, it's gone, it's totally out of memory, and we're going to go back to our normal camera. It's a super easy way to create and blend between these different layered cameras. There are some improvements I want to make to give you more control over blending and stuff, but it gives you enough now to where I've used this. We're using this in Normal Academy and Circle of Orion. The Normal Academy demo is on Steam if you want to try it out. And, yeah, so it's already ready to go. So, that is dynamic cameras. And for now, we're going to delete this because we don't need it. So, dynamic cameras. So, let's talk about another nifty little feature called Subscripts. After I get a drink. Root beer is amazing, guys. You have no idea. Or maybe you do. All right. Now, subscripts. Subscripts are a feature, a component specifically, which I'm going to add now. Subscripts are essentially a simple entity component system. Now, for those of you who don't know what that is, it might be confused because, like, what we got actors and components right here. Entity component system is a programming structure that essentially tries to separate concerns into what are called components, which are just functions. They're code. They have no data. They just run. They're just basically a list of functions. You have oh, I'm sorry, I said it backwards. You have components which are data. Components are just like basically a list of data and variables, list of variables that you can add. Systems are just the functions, the actual code running it, and then entities are the combination of the two. Now, the advantage of this is it's basically a performance advantage. And in this case, subscripts are... oh, thank you very much, Andy. I'm really glad you enjoyed it. Yeah, and thanks for congrats on the Kickstarter. Yeah, we're really happy it was successful and working hard on it. We think it's gonna be a really good game, so I hope you're excited. Anyway, subscripts. What these are is they allow you to essentially add modular, an even more modular and simple form of code to characters or to actors on a specific on a case basis, and they're very customizable because you can change them on instance, on child, add and remove them. So, I guess it's still hard to explain because there's so many different use cases for them. But just to show them off, I got the character right here. Let's show off how you might use one. Let's go into Blueprints and make subscripts. Make a new subscript class. That's how you might do it. Specifically subscript, not subscript collection, which I'll talk about in a second. Subscript, and we'll call it Printo. Now, here we go. Let's set it so it can tick. And we're going to say on tick, print string. We're going to get out the string, get out the text color, and do the duration. And now these are constant classes, so you cannot set and store variables in them, which is what helps performance. You can only pass variables in through them. So, yes, now let's go over here. Go to subscript, add in Printo. So right now it's string is text color and hello. If I just go ahead and start playing, you can see it printing hello up there in the corner. Let's change this to bingo. Oh, bingo, whatever. I'm on a rush here. I'm not going to fix that. And change the color to there. Pretty simple stuff. And obviously you can add and remove them based on specific character. Simple enough system, but it gives you access to lots of different possibilities. So for example, one that I've started using in all my games, is, let's see, is this one here called tag event trace queue. It's a complicated name, but basically what this does is when we get when we receive a tag event, which I don't remember if I've talked about those before, so I'll go over them quickly. They're just events on an actor that you call based on tags. Wait, no, sorry. Let me just show. Actor tag event. Fire tag event on actor. You put in an actor, you put in a tag event, and then you add the tag event interface to the actor, and you can say what happens when I receive that tag event. You know, switch out here. And what's neat about those is that they freeze like they just did. So give it a second. Okay, it doesn't usually do that. Set and restart. Well, you know, I know it's not on me because that's just Unreal Engine crashing all the time. It didn't crash when I ran the test earlier today, so I know it's Unreal Engine. This is another reason why I'm afraid to update to 5.5 because I'll just have more of that. Anyway. Instead, you can maybe hear the vacuum right outside my my door. All right. Please ignore the noise and any notifications you may or may not see on my taskbar. Yeah, unfortunately it's part of using Unreal. Anyway, back to where we were. Ah, yes. So we got, where was it doing? Tag events, right. So, when calling an actor tag event, it will replicate, it won't just run that tag event on the actor, it'll run it on any components on that actor that also have the tag event. So you don't need to manually redirect them, you just add a component and you can modularly add stuff on or off. Holy Ninja Daniel, what is... Sorry, I said your name and then my dog freaked out. But hello, Happy New Year. It's great. Thanks for coming. It's awesome to see you. I'm sorry. I need to go for just literally like 20 seconds to go hang on. I gotta go kill the dog. Alright, game, I'm back. Alright, so I've dealt with the dogs. They won't be making any more noise. Anyway, back to tag events. Tag events replicate down to components automatically. So you can create a custom component, add tag event, and modularly set some stuff up. But in the case of Subscripts, what I want to talk about is, just as an example, I have one called trace queue, which means when we receive a tag event, we will run a trace, and whenever that trace hits, we will play a gameplay queue on it, which gameplay queues are just a collection of visual effects and sound effects, so like an explosion, and it's all collected in one actor. So, the main example I use this for is footsteps. This is how I handle footsteps in the game. So, I have a tag event here called, event physics footstep, and I have the default like walking animation. Hang on, give it a second. Set up with notifies for tag events. In fact, maybe I can just open it up because this is the animation that comes in with. That comes in with Omega Game Framework. It's the built-in mannequin system. Right here, yeah, I had these tag events set up that run event physics footstep, and that runs that tag event on whatever actor owns this. So that'll replicate down to the subsystem, and it's a way I can spawn in queues. Now, you can set this up manually, or what you can do, what I've done, is you can add a subscript collection, which like here I have one called footstep, and a subscript collection is what it sounds like. It is a data asset that is a collection of subscripts that you can just add and reuse. You can create and then reuse on different characters or take them off. So I had this one here already set up called footstep, runs the physics footstep, draws a line downward to see if it hits a visibility trace, then spawns a footstep sound effect. And I also have an extra thing to change based on the surface type, but that has to do with setting up physics surfaces, and I'm not going to worry about that. So point is, if I just drop on this component right now, blah, 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 okay, it's pretty simple. Nothing happens. But if I go here and add this physics footstep, or this footstep subscript, then, and I know they're a little off, that's more of an animation timing thing I can fuddle with, but we have footsteps working. And that's easy to you can put it in like a plugin or something and reuse it easily across different stuff. And you can add different other subscripts on a character-by-character basis, or actor-by-actor basis, I should say. So, for example, I'm going to be right here. So that's my spawn point. Let's add some NPCs in. Let's drop a guy right here. And let's say I want him to be walking around. Well, one of the subscripts is move around origin. And again, you can create your own. This one is just every 3 seconds, we're going to pick a random spot within 15,000, I think it's centimeters, of our origin and start walking there. Now, we'll need, obviously, a nav mesh bounds. So, goody. So now, if I play, look at him go. And about every 3 seconds, he's going to pick a new spot. Easy way to get him wandering around. But say I want him to not run around. Well, I could modify my character movement speed. But that'll be a little... But then I have to, I have to make sure my character's move speed is normal, and then I can create a child class with a move speed, but then I have to run all these, events to change that around. Or I can just create a subscript that says set speed to, say, 100. Like so here. Well, that's setting my speed to 100, but not his. So, here's what we're going to do is I'm actually going to remove both of these from the default character. So by default, the character won't do any. Get back here, you. Okay, so by default, yeah, he's not going to do anything because he's just another character class I've dropped in. In fact, I'll just to prove it, another character class. But maybe you're like, okay, I don't want to program in all this extra functionality, but I want this character specifically, like maybe I have all these characters, I only want this one to be walking around. So, I will give him the wander around origin. And maybe, actually, I'll have this. I will have 2 of them. They'll both wander around the origin. But this one, I want to move slower. So, we'll move speed to 100. Then there you go. And so all these different ways you can customize them and put them on by a moment-by-moment basis. And yeah, there's a weird collision thing. So that isn't me. It's something with this thing. Okay, that's good to know it's not me, but I don't know what's causing that bumping. But anyway. So yep. That's subscripts. Very useful for all manner of different things. All right. One more drink. So we've covered environments, we've covered dynamic cameras, tag events, and subscripts. So let's talk about global variables. This will go by quickly because it's very easy. Global variables are what they sound like. They are functions you can call to just set variables on and access them on a global level. So I just do set global var, let's say bool, get global var bool. Pretty simple. If I say tango here, I probably won't demonstrate these just because you get how they work. I can set this and then get it, and it'll be whatever I output it. Oh, let me put this back though. So that's the simple version for global variables. Something you'd think would be like built in, but it's not. So there you go. But something you might notice on here is we have this target enumeration. This allows you to actually tell where you want to save this variable's value to. So if you set it to the world, that value is saved to the world, and it can access that until you go to a new level, and then it's cleared out. Game instance saves that to the game instance, so whenever you transition worlds, it's stayed in until you shut down the game. So when you reload the game, it will be cleared out. Then you can also save it to the game save, or the save game, or save global. Just an extra way to save data to and from the save game, so it'll be stored. It'll be stored in there permanently as well. It's like an even more rudimentary and easy way of saving variables on different levels. Just trying to really streamline the process of making these games. Because maybe you're trying to make a really simple game, so that's all you need. Alrighty. Oh yeah, but still on the topic of global variables, I showed you how you can set them with strings. You can also set them with gameplay tags. Global tag. So set get global tag float. Because sometimes strings might be hard to remember, so you can use gameplay tags instead. So let's say param, I will set score. I'll mark you do bagel score. Set it to whatever, and then you can access it here. So just because I prefer them like that because they're easier to remember. And all that's happening is it's converting this to a string anyway. So, but there is one more there, just to go over, which is GUID global variables, which is, GUID float, is the exact same thing. There's no TAD version, but it's the exact same thing except for instead of just being stored generically, they're actually stored in a GUID. So, let's say I have a GUID variable called, well, not called that, generate. So, this is my GUID, and we can get GUIDs from actors or whatever, because I won't explain what GUIDs are. They're just a global identifier, but if you know, you know. But yeah, you can store those that way now, so which can be very useful if you have like a list of items in a save game. You might use them for this. Not necessarily like RPG items, just like something you want to save based on an ID. So, that's how you use global variables. Simple, straightforward. All right, next up, let's talk about emotes. Emotes, you might know what these are from most games. Essentially, they are a data asset that will play a montage on a character based on that'll change depending on that character's like animation or mesh. So they can be very contextual while still using the same asset. If you have like you have a game like World of Warcraft or a lot of MMOs where you'll have like a wave animation or a dance animation. It might be the same emote, like dance, but it'll play a different animation depending on your character's like skeleton, depending on whether it's an orc or a human or whatever. I've never played WoW, so I'm assuming, but you know what I'm talking about. So let's go into here, say data. Since it's a data asset, I like to put it in the data folder. Let's go to emotes. My throat is starting to hurt. Oh yeah, while we're here, let's look up here at the top. Either right because of that, underscore right at the top, we have a new Omega drop down. I'd say new. I think it's been here before, but I'm trying to streamline it. And you actually get a bunch of easy to create assets right here. And you can enjoy all the fancy icon types. So anyway, in this case, we're gonna go animation emote. You can find it through the data asset menu as well, like normal. And we're gonna say emote talk. Just because we're gonna play a talking animation. Let's open it up. Call it talk. Let's grab the character, and for now we're gonna do it like this, just to test out delay every 2.5 seconds. Then we're gonna say play emote talking. There are some emotes that come default in Omega here, but I'm gonna use this one. I'm gonna use the one I made it called talking. So, and then reroute, play here. So now, every 2.5 seconds, it'll play this emote. Now, emotes use montages. You can actually come up with custom scripts to determine what montage to play. But for now, we have this this one called common. The way it works is first we can put a fallback animation in just to show you that it is working. Emote man talk. So, if I play this every 2.5 seconds, there you go. And it'll just repeat every 2.5 seconds. But and you can have that as a fallback, but the main purpose of it is to use, to change based on, the skeletal animation or whatever. So what I'm going to do here is use a montage tag. We're going to look up emote dot, or create, of course, you can use whatever tag you want. Now, nothing's going to happen now, because I haven't told it what animation this is. So the way this works is it actually is accessing this. Can I open it? Nope, that's okay. It is accessing the animation instance and trying to get the montage from there. And the way that is done is, let's just create an animation blueprint from scratch, and I can show you. Excuse me. Animation blueprint, demo mannequin. For the mannequin, of course. Animation blueprint man. All right. Now we won't worry about walking or. You know what? All right, I'm not gonna explain this. I'm just gonna show you something while I'm working on here, because Omega actually does come up with a lot of animation templates as well to kind of speed up the animation process. like all right here. If you just do AT underscore, you can see a lot of them. I'm going to use one called locomotion. Layer, sequence player. And I'll try to speed through this so I can kind of explain what the emotes, how the emotes are used. So we'll plug in the animation idle. Blend space motion. We'll use idle walk. And we will do idle 1. There we go. All right. Plug this in. Yeah, right there. All right. So, the way that script is working, and I think I can just show you it. Emote script. So we're by default we can play if there's nothing, we play the fallback animation. But what's happening is we're trying to get the animation instance and get a montage from something called a context montage. Now, Unreal Engine has an interface called AV context AV, and what this is it's basically a montage that lets you get audio visual assets from a gameplay tag. In this, like, you can see them all right here. In this case, we're going to use the montage. So let's just do find to create a map. Montages. So it's going to run this, and all we have to do now is tag talking. I think we said talk. Get rid of that. We didn't need that. All right. So now, because of this, when we hit the talking key, we've assigned this animation to it, or the talking tag, and since that's the one we are using, if I play this here, there you go. And now, you can use the exact same emote on any sort of skeletal meshes, and you just need to change in their animation instance, like I just showed you, what montage they're using. One more second. Blow my nose. All right. That is how you use emotes. Like, and so for example, in Circle of Orion, the way I use them is to trigger animations in dialogue. So if someone wants to do an angry animation, I'll just fire that emote on them. And if it's a different character, they'll use their specific angry emote animation. All right. Let's talk about story states. So story states are a form of asset that is saved into your save game, and it's meant to sort of load and unload data based on kind of what the save or story state of your game is. My voice is starting to go out, so I'm going to hopefully not take too long. As always, the best way I think is just to show it to you. So what we're going to do is go back to data. We'll clear a folder called story states. Let's go to Omega, save, story state, SS, EV. We'll call it 00 because it's our 0 story state. And let's also create a new level. And we're going to drag that level to demonstrate how you might use this into here. Now let's go back to story states. Load that up. Oop, here we go. Let me quickly check on something, and I will explain those in a minute. Okay, everything looks fine. All right, back to the stream. So we created a new story state. We can call it whatever we want. Let's call this. Let's call this. Ooh. Aliens. Now what we're gonna do is, and I'll show you why. I'll show you why I call it this, but it doesn't really matter. Anyway, let's add a script called load sublevel. And again, because these are scripts, like a lot of Unreal assets, you can create your own iterations of this. But what this script is going to do, you can create your own story state scripts, and add them in here. What this one is going to do is it's going to check and see when we are at this sub-level, which in this case is, I think I called it test. Yes. In fact, let's just find and drag it in. Test. We want to load this sub-level, event 0. You can also block sublevels from being loaded. I think this is a value that actually needs to be removed, ID, but in this case we don't need to block any sublevels. So now whenever we're at this map, and this state is active, we want to load event 0. So let's go to this sub map. Let's add in. How about we add in a new character? We'll do a cylinder. Oop, but he's too close to me. We want to be able to see him, because I'll spawn right there. Cylinder. Big old pyramid-aroo. And the reason I'm calling it aliens, because this is what I did in the stream test earlier, so I'm going to do it again. Oh no! Anyway. So we got these on event 0 on this submap. Obviously loaded out, loaded. Now when we fire it up, nowhere to be seen. But let's do this in our level. Delay. Oh, let's do 3 seconds so it looks like my animation is activating. That'd be funny. All right, let's get save subsystem. Story state. Oops. States. And let's get our story state, and we're going to set it to active after 3 seconds. And then after 3 more seconds, we're going to set it to inactive. And I will show you what this does. So, if I activate, after 3 seconds, spawn them in. After another 3 seconds, spawn them out. And what's happening there, yeah, I mean, you see what's happening there. It's loading them in, but more importantly, these are being saved in the save game. So if you leave this level and then come back, it'll retain this state, and it'll still retain this map as being loaded in. Or that, and when you save this to your game file, it'll obviously be saved in there. So when you reload the game, it'll keep the same state. So, it's just the easiest way to maintain states like in an RPG if characters are moving and disappearing depending on where you are in the story. And additionally, you have a bunch of other scripts you can look at. You have edit states, which just, edits additional story states, remove them at the start or end, add or remove them at the start or end. You have required states, which will require these states to be active in order to activate this one, or block states, which is the same, but they prevent it from being activated. You can activate data layers, and you can edit save tags, or you can create your own. Like this one will be, we'll add the save tag when the state starts and remove it when the state ends. And yeah, you have all sorts of ways you can customize all that. Very much for more for RPGs and stuff like that, but still works. So, alrighty. Now, oh boy. So it's already past 2, but we're doing okay on time. Next up, we're gonna talk about game settings. Man, this is gonna be tricky because this is kind of All right, let's just jump into it. How about that? Let's just jump into it. So, if you go down to Omega Framework and Project Settings, you'll notice something here called Default Game Settings and Default Slate Settings, as well as these two here for Path and File Manager, but don't worry about those. What these are is a way you can create global constants, like configurations for your game, but store them in a data asset so that they can, one, easily be reused across multiple projects, and they're all they're kind of segmented into their own relevant files. So I'll just kind of, I won't open these up. What I'll do is I will create my own, let's say, miscellaneous settings, slate settings, and settings gameplay, and settings slate. Oh wait, that's dumb. I'm dumb. There we go. So now we have a new, for our game, a new slate and gameplay settings class, which we will add in to here. Now, if we open these up, we'll go with slate first. This provides a bunch of settings for stylistic things. So we have different text styles, different border styles, different styles for like different widget types. We can add in a game logo. We can add in a loading indicator, which is used in the default load subsystem or load gameplay system. I've named these very bad, so it's hard to know what I'm talking about. The menu background, splash images, which if you use the splash gameplay system, it'll play all these in order. Then you have default sounds for menus and data widgets, hovering over them and them opening and closing. Default menus that you can use, HUD layer, blah, 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 blah. The way these stuff like that would work. So if we go into here and do get slate settings, it'll get whatever our slate setting slate setting asset is. And then we can just get all that stuff from here. Now we can get all this stuff from here, but there's also a few functions built in that utilize them in different ways. So like if we do slate style, we can set the style of all these different widgets like buttons, borders, checkboxes, whatever. And like, yeah, if we do border here, we can put in what border do we want to change the style of, and then we can actually choose what style type, big, medium, small, which will correspond to whatever's here. And what this provides is a one-stop place to change all this stuff out. Instead of needing to, it will help you with not having to dig through your entire game folder to find where you need to go to edit stuff, because you can keep it all in one place. And, sorry, in my head. More importantly, well, let me talk about gameplay settings first, because this will actually be more understandable here of why I made these. So same thing here, you have some map. Most of these are just files you can access. Ignore these abilities. These need to either be updated or removed. They don't do anything right now. Zone actors. I need to explain what those are, don't I? No, I actually don't have time, and I don't know if they work. So I'll ignore those. Systems here. The game settings is mostly the same way. It's just variables you can access, except, and this is the main reason I wanted to talk to you about this, something down here called meta settings. Now, meta settings are scriptable blueprints that you can make that essentially works in the same way. They're global constants you can access, but what's neat is you can create them and then change them on a setting by setting basis, depending on what your game is. So I'll give you an example of this. Let's say, I don't know, let's say you're making an RPG. Oops. Meta settings. You're making an RPG, or actually, let me back this up. And let's say you're building a RPG framework. You're wanting to create a bunch of blueprints and a game framework that you can use to not just make one game, but lots of different games. Well, but you don't want to have to rebuild your code every time. That's annoying. So what you can do, as you can say, I can want to create a meta settings, and we'll say game constants or something. I don't know. Let's open that back up, and let's say you want to know what data asset is used for money. Like you'll have money in the game, and you want to know whenever you reference that money data asset, you want to know which one to reference. So we'll say primary data asset for currency, and we will give it. While we're just here, we'll make money 1 and money 2. And it's like, oh, actually, a better idea. Gold and silver. What's a better name? Gil. Just, a random name. Imagine if there was a currency called Gil. If some game had that. So by default, you used gold, right? So, like, it's like, I want to know I want to get the asset for money. Then you just go get meta settings. And we'll say my game constants, currency. And there you have that asset, so it's always there whenever you need to reference it. However, if you wanted to reuse all your same gameplay system or all your same game code and your framework across multiple games, well, what you could do is you go into your gameplay setting, whatever your game settings you're using is, then go to meta settings, add it in, not choice, that's the one, constants, and we'll change it out from gold to gil. And now that's the one it'll be referencing every time. So whenever you access this. And what's neat is that if you're not referencing that in your game settings at all, it'll just use its default values. So if there's a project or scenario where you don't want to edit them, you can just leave it as it is, and it'll still work. So that's a little more high level. That's for people who are planning on like doing multiple games with reusing their code and stuff. But I do that a lot, so it was very important for me. So I made that, and that's another feature for you guys. And I maybe have done that last because I hope I didn't lose any of you. Because next we're moving on to something I think people will really be interested in. Give me one more second to clear my throat, though. Ah, delicious. Let's lie that root beer down before my voice goes entirely. Oh, also, give me one. So I just realized I have to go and take care of something quickly here. And then we're going to get on to something I think a lot of you will be interested in. So if you'll just hang on for a minute, we'll get to some really good stuff. Especially for those of you who liked my assembly plugin. Da-da-da. I almost sung a song, but you know how copyright is. Alright. Let's talk about skins. So, skins are essentially Omega's version of what Assembly Character Creator was. Skins are a way you can modularly build out a character appearance with different skeletal meshes or modifications and apply it to a character. So, to use it, first of all, let's open up our character class. We're going to add a new component called skin. We're not going to go over appearances and body types right now just because that it's going to take too much time. Pull this bad boy out. Well, let's just say, okay, for now we've added the component. What you'll see here is a skins option. Let's make a new one. We're going to call it... It's technically an actor, so we'll put it under there. Skins. Skins Dumo. Because that's often how I misspell dummy when I'm typing, so it's kind of just become a thing. Alright, so now we have a new skin. Now, the way this works is you start by just assembling your character together. So, let's get a skeletal mesh. Oops. Where is he? There we go. Now let's look at mannequin. Now, Omega Game Framework actually has the mannequin broken up into a few different pieces that you can cycle out for stuff like this for testing. So let's do mannequin. We'll do head. Let's get this very, very skinny head. And the body. Oops. That's why it was moving so weird. So now, I have these two different body parts. Let's attach them here. No. Attach. So, like, you can put stuff together here. Then, what you'll need to do is go over here to Master Skeleton. And this will be the skeleton who is used as to drive the animation on this whole thing. So, in this case, it's very easy because it just uses the mannequin skeleton, the male mannequin skeleton. So, we demo mannequin male. This asset overrides whatever their materials are, so they're not visible, or they're whatever. And let's select an animation class right here. Now, as you saw, these, even though I didn't set them here, these updated because it'll automatically try to preview here with these meshes whatever animation you give it. Now, if I go into here And on construction, we'll say set skin. I believe if you use the Omega character class, it'll automatically do this on construction, but since we're not right now, we're going to have to show you how to do it manually. By the way, I didn't say a hi to Swirl Beast. Hello. It's good to be, thank you for coming. It's good to see you. All right. So, if I drop this in here, and let's say skin class Dumo, and boom, there. Now it has set my class. Now what it is doing is it's, like I said, it's applying this skeletal mesh with these materials right here, and it doesn't really show it. It'll probably show it if I drop him in to the map. If I drop into the map, mesh, yep, you can see the mesh here with these and that animation. And then it is replicating the pose onto all of these pieces here. So if I get rid of him, well, if I get rid of this guy, he's doing all the same animations that he should not be doing. So let's just get rid of those. We don't need those anymore. There you go. All the animations are working on him because he uses the same skeleton. Now that's the first way of using skins, but there are other ways, because while this is an awesome method, it is still creating a separate actor. If I actually open this up, you can see it's creating a separate actor here and attaching it to me, which is fine. In a lot of cases, this is all you need. But as you start scaling up and adding a lot more NPCs, that really adds to performance, as do all the different skeletal components. So, an option you can do is, rather than having, say there could be a case where you don't want to have several different pieces, you only have, let's make a new one. Let's make a new skin. We'll call it compressed. You're only going to have one skeleton, but you don't, let's say you have a one skeleton mesh, like Demo Man, but you want to be able to change some of the materials on this skeletal mesh, some of the color on him, but you don't want to create a whole new mesh, because then, like, if you edit the mesh one time, you have to edit it for both. Plus, it adds to disk size because it's copying all the mesh data, all the polygon data and everything. Well, what you can do with compressed skins, first of all, make sure your skin is up here is set to compressed. We can do the same thing for the animation. Then we have one skeletal mesh here. Let's make our modifications. We'll make his chest. We'll do this. No, that won't work. Set his chest thing to blue, man blue, or to red, and then his thing to blue. So we got this appearance. Then let's go down here and get compressed mesh component. Pop him out here. And now, when we go over here and swap out our mesh here, whoop. Wait a sec. Oh, I did it in the wrong spot. That's right. Right here. Ta-da! Swapped him out easily. And when I drop him in the world, not him. Well, when I spawn in the world, what you'll notice is that there is no skin actor attached to me. There was attached to that guy, which there shouldn't have been, so that's probably a bug I need to fix. But there isn't for me, because what happened is, as soon as it built the mesh, it didn't need, or the skin, it didn't need it anymore, because we're only using one mesh, so it deleted him. It got the data and deleted it. So that can be really good for if you want to use only one mesh and save, not worry about having extra actors. There's one more way you can use these, though, which is kind of combine the two. So what I'm going to do, actually, is I'm going to copy this guy over. Skin Dumo merged. So we're going to use the same method, but we're going to make it a compressed skin. Now, normally we can only use one mesh on a compressed skin, but what we can do is get compressed mesh component. Let's make a new skeletal mesh. We'll call it output. And what we're going to do is grab these two, which are actual visual meshes. We're going to do merge mesh components. Slightly misspelled there, but that's fine. We'll get our master skeleton. We are using that, so that'll be fine. We can set it and then recompress it. Now this outputs a skeletal mesh asset, so we need to, not a component, so set component. And for those of you who don't know, set mesh. This is a mega function. This uses a system in Unreal Engine called merge skeletal meshes. Merge skeletons, which is an advanced component for just that. It'll take several skeletal meshes, and it'll merge the mesh data while keeping a single skeleton to reduce performance. Now, there are some limitations. I believe this breaks all morph targets, and it needs to share a master skeleton, which I've actually just added a safe version to do that. But yeah, so if I do that, and I set its skeleton dash to output, so what's happening is we're grabbing the mesh components, merging their meshes together, reapplying that to an output, and then sending that output out. And we are using this compressed. Well, now, if I drop this in to, Doom merged, see, I'm getting the same result as the first time, but I don't have any skin. Well, that guy does, but I don't care about that guy because that's a bug. I don't have any skin component because we merged it and then output it. So you have a lot of different ways you can combine that stuff together. So that's skins. That's how you can use skins to create modular characters in a few different ways. There are some other things you might want to poke around here, like skin modifiers, which are like once the skin is actually built, it'll apply some modifiers to it. There are also body types and body modifiers, and body types, body slots, and body options, which are something I don't have time to get into here, and they're also a work in progress, but they're essentially something you can look up on your own time. I'll show you where they are. Like here, you place them here, as well as slots and set the slot parameters. There are ways you can, it's essentially meant to be a system for handling character creation, player character creation. But that needs a bit more work. You'll have to look at that on your own time. So that is how you can use skins to really customize your characters in different ways. And that's most... No, we're not done. There's something else I want to cover first quickly. So, one thing I'm starting to add, adding a few of, is what I call common assets or demo data asset types. So in this case, let me just go down and say common skill attack, and we'll do another one here called combatant preset, combatant Tom. I don't know. These are just data assets that come with Omega for adding data for like player skills. You can add montages, names, effects, attribute costs. You can add, this is for a combatant preset. You can add things like their faction, their whatever their AI gambit is, their names, skins, blah, 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 blah. The main reason I bring these up is to talk about data items for a minute. So data items were something I added, I think it was last year. And it was a concept to essentially extend the idea of components onto data assets. And I, at this point, feel like it has been a failure. Because ultimately, the need, it was meant to streamline the way or modularize the way of getting and setting data on in your game. But what ended up happening is that the trait system it came with basically made it take longer and add more points of failure in order to access data from them. So pretty much, a short version of what is happening is Omega or data items will still be in here, but I'm pretty much not going to update them or use them anymore. Instead, I'm relying a lot more on interfaces now, which pretty much do the same thing but better. And yeah, I should have realized that. So I rely a lot on interfaces to run much of the function in Omega. And I would just combine those interfaces in different ways and with different logic on specific data assets. So that's basically an update on data items and why they are soft deprecated. Depreciate? I never understand whether it's deprecate or depreciate. I choose deprecate because it sounds like defecate, and they are poo. Anyway, so data items are soft deprecated now. All right, that is so. while that's most of what I talked about, I have something big I'm going to show at the end of the stream. You'll want to be around for that. But as far as features, that's kind of all I wanted to show. That is not remotely close to everything I've done and added. That's scratching the tip of the iceberg. And it's just, the problem is working on this, it's becoming so much to cover. So I wanted to hit the highlights, hit like, hey, here are the things that I think everyone might really want to, probably will really want to know about. And I seem like I got that reaction, but mainly like the environment actor and subscripts and skins and dynamic cameras, all things I know people haven't really explained in a video and people want to know about. So yeah, those are like some of the big features that have been added since my last depreciate fella. That's correct. Yes, that's what depreciate means. So deprecate, I think, is the proper. Yeah, deprecate. That's the correct one. I feel like I've seen both used, but you are correct that deprecate is the correct term. Or maybe I was just misreading deprecate. Anyway, those are a lot of the main features that I wanted to show off that have been added. So before we move on, I guess there's just a few more things I want to go over. Number one, well, first, I guess the main thing is we're 4-year anniversary. So thanks first to everyone who came to 3, but thanks to everyone who's supported me, who's used the plugin. I understand the development is very sporadic. It's not always super perfect because it's a large scale plugin being developed by just me with what time I have. So it doesn't always work perfectly, but I hope I've developed it in a way most people can use it and it is actually helpful without causing too much issue. Like there are bugs, like one there's right now that causes a hitch whenever you first start a game that I'm trying to figure out why that is and fix that, but it's only at the start and then it works fine. But yeah, I wanted to thank everyone, and I wanted to kind of in line with that say that if you are someone who kind of appreciates this and will want to support me, the best way to do that would be with sponsorships, because I have now opened sponsorships for Omega Gamer specifically on GitHub, and this is a way. I've gone through a few things like GitHub, or not GitHub, like Patreon and Subscripts and Ko-fi and Locals. Never really was happy with any of them just because of the I don't know, they just spread things out and created a bunch of excess that I didn't need. So what's really nice about this is by sponsorships for me, well, specifically, you can sponsor Omega Game Framework directly, and by doing it here, one, you can do it monthly, or you can do it just a one-time payment, which most of the others don't allow. But it's all because it's all done on my GitHub. I know that you're supporting Omega Game Framework specifically. That's what you want to see more of. So if you want to support me, that would be the best way to do it. Obviously, no pressure. As always, Omega Game Framework will remain free and open source permanently. It will not be. The entire point of it was to be free and open source. So I pledge to you, I'm never going to make it paid. I'm never going to put any licensing restrictions on it under any circumstances. It's just, if you want to support me, it would help me with developing this. That's how you can do it, and I would be very grateful. But if not, it'll always be free. Welcome to have you. I'm happy to talk to you about the game. And the last thing I want to go over before we leave is I guess to lead into this, documentation. I have been working on proper documentation. Documentation has been moved into the actual GitHub. Hopefully I can have a redirect on my website when I update my website finally. But yeah, I have a lot. I'm working on improving the documentation for Omega, breaking down all the subsystems, the components, the different actor types, the different functions and widgets. And it'll mark on the side here kind of the status of some of the documentation. So for like Game Manager, it's complete. It's got everything you need. Some of this is work in progress. Some of this is completely incomplete. There's basically nothing to it. But yeah, so now you can access this just from the GitHub. But I know some people out there work better not with documentation, but with actually getting hands-on. So what I have done is I have started creating, and I'm going to be releasing template projects that use Omega Game Framework. So right now, I'm going to go ahead and put this in the chat if you guys want to go and look at it. This is a link to the GitHub for Omega template projects, which will be the template projects that I release from here going out, hopefully for different types of games. These will be completely free. These will be like if any of you are familiar with the RPG, Super RPG framework, or 3D platformer toolkit that I made for Omega, or for Unreal Engine years ago, this is going to be like those. It's going to be template projects, but built on Omega game framework. And they're going, same thing, it'll be free, open source for everyone. I might release paid versions on the marketplace, but those will be only if you want to support me. It'll be the exact same as what are on GitHub. It's just, hey, if you wanted to support me, that would be an extra way, is buying those directly on the marketplace if I end up releasing them. And when I say templates, these have settings for Unreal templates. So you can actually go and put these in your Unreal project templates folder and then create new projects from them that way. Is it not found? Okay, let me double check and make sure that these, because these should be, well, why is it set to private? I thought I set it to public. Okay, give me 1 second. That was close. I almost let you see stuff you shouldn't see. All right, let's correct this. Oh, I have to put in, okay, 1 second. I got to put in an authenticator code, which is good, but it's also good I pulled it off the screen. Alrighty, and it should now be public. All right, so do you guys, well, let me, I'll try it myself. No, that's not Omega, that's, hang on. Let me pull up a private window. Template. Yep, there you go. So yeah, and again, so yeah, it's the template project is epic. It is working now. So you got this one right here. The rest will go in here. So yeah, you can put these in your actual, you can make a copy of them as they are now, or you can put them in your Unreal project templates folder, and they should work just fine. They should show up in your list of templates. I'll just open that up and actually give you guys a little bit of an inspection of it. I think do I have it here? Yes, I do. Kind of what it looks like very briefly, but so I know this will actually probably be better for some people seeing how I design and how I structure a game, and giving them a way to get started and learn, or just to kick off working on a new project. So this one in particular, kind of consider this basic one a bit of a 0.1, because I had to rush it a bit to get it ready. It has all the things I need, but I may want to improve some stuff. So you can download it and try it, but I might be updating this specific template as time goes on. But so yeah, so here's what it looks like. You can see the same structure I use. Main folder, then I have assets, which right now just has materials in it, but I might put other stuff in there. Blueprints, data, maps. I can just fire it up. It may play music, I don't remember. Oh yeah, because there's something I forgot to talk about with the environment. Oop. Is my computer audio shut off? I don't think it's mattered so far, but I realized it might be. Let me check something. Desktop audio shut off. Okay, it hasn't mattered now, so it's not an issue. Yeah, here's kind of the template map. It's got all the stuff you need there. I've tried to streamline this as much so it's not like Unreal Engine templates where it's like, oh, we're gonna have the stuff for the character in a bunch of different folders, and we're gonna have this all there, and it's very confusing. I've tried to make this as clear as possible. So if I run through, you got materials in the materials folder, some UI elements, blueprints, abilities go with abilities. You have actors that you actually place in the world, effects, the HUDs, the menus, the systems, the widgets. All the stuff is logically laid out, I feel, so it should be easy to find and modify. While we're here, though, I forgot to go over with environment. So we have the environment actor here, nice at all, being the sky. Couple things extra with that. There are some variables down here. One, you can set a PCG asset, which will just be it'll automatically be spawned in here because it's a PCG component. Can be useful if you have like one PCG you want to use across the entire map. You can have a default ambient sound here. So you have an ambient audio you wanna play, it'll automatically play that. And BGM, if you wanna, especially if you're doing like simple levels system, and you're like, I want to use this music track for this level. You put it in right here with the environment, and it's good to go. No blueprint calls or anything. It's just ready to go. The last thing on here is environmental presets. These are neat because these are ways you can save data to and from your environments and kind of reuse them. So, for example, I have ones here for the different times of day. These are basic ones, but you can kind of, I'll actually open them up so you can kind of see them. These also work with these scripts that you can create yourself. They're just called environment scripts, I think. But yeah, you can see all the parameters here. And what's neat is that, and I'd be careful when doing this, but if you want to create your own preset and add your own scripts to it, you can when you have it, you can click this save to preset. Some of the commenting is bad, so I realize that. And this says preset. This should say lock preset, so I'll update that soon. This locks it so that it doesn't changing the preset doesn't actually change your map. But you can do save to preset, which will save your current settings based on the script to that actual preset. So instead of modifying all values, I could like move the, well, hang on. As you can see, okay, I'm trying to edit this and it won't let me because it's saying, nope, the preset says you can't do that. So let's lock the preset, change to like here. Since I did this, and if I clicked this, it would save it to the preset. I'm not going to do that because I want to keep the daytime preset. But an extra easy little thing with environments. There you go. And that's, yeah, if I play this, you can hear the music playing. Look at those guys walking around. Because I believe they're using subscripts. Oop, there's 2 of them. That shouldn't be the case. If I go down to, where is it? Subscripts. We'll just search it out. Yeah, look at that. He's using the wander and the footsteps thing. Oh, you are right. I am very dumb. Okay. That's a very good point. Okay. All right, I will try to explain that briefly. Yeah, down here are the parameters. I probably should just keep my avatar over here from now on. Yeah, PCG asset, you can change the preset here. This one that's supposed to say lock preset, which prevents the preset from editing the map. But default ambient sound, the BGM, which is one now I'm using BGM Town. So, ways to streamline making your game so you don't have to do just stuff like you do over and over again. It's like, look, just here is it already done, and just choose what files you want to use. And yeah, so this template is free on GitHub now for you to download and work on. Try making a game with, whatever. And that, as they say, is that. Thank you, everyone who came and stuck around for the whole stream. I hope it was very useful. I hope you enjoyed it. Here's to another great 4 years or however many. And I will see you guys all next time. Thank you very much. Bye, guys.